believe it or not, this afternoon is actually a perfect snapshot in time. A still frame, emblematic of an absurdly asymmetrical chapter in American political history. Just think about it. On one hand, the President of the United States, so confident in his achievements, travels the country, reminding voters just how much it is he has accomplished. 2 years since signing that historic bipartisan infrastructure bill into law, President Biden is now firmly on the political offensive. He celebrated the effects of his climate policies in Colorado, in the district represented by Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. A massive failure, that's a quote, is how Boebert described Biden's climate policies. A line the president was then happy to turn around at a wind turbine factory yesterday. Quote, "You all know you're part of a massive failure," he said to laughs, making the sign of the cross at Boebert's name. And then, as we said, on the other side, you got Republicans, seemingly and confusingly hell-bent on impeaching President Biden for something they have yet to come close to proving, that he personally benefited from his son's business dealings. They insist, without irony, that Donald Trump should be president instead, despite a number of ongoing civil and criminal trials. Joining us now, U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Claire and Basil. They are back with us as well. Secretary, good to see you. Less than a year to the 2024 election. We know what defense looks like. What does it look like for this administration to go on offense?
Well, look, as an administration, we're focusing on the achievements that have happened under President Biden's leadership, and there are many, especially, of course, with regard to infrastructure and transportation. And part of how we know that these achievements are really phenomenal and delivering good results for the American people is that even Republican members of the House who voted to prevent them are still there to celebrate them when they actually happen. Representative Boebert has written letters of support for projects in her district to be funded with President Biden's infrastructure package that she didn't just vote no on, but referred to as garbage. That didn't stop her from saying that garbage, I guess, as she had called it, was going to be good for her district. And sure enough, you know, when the project is a good project, we're going to fund it, regardless of the politics. So we're doing a project on I-70. We're doing another one that is benefiting the city of Pueblo and helping it reconnect the kinds of highway, road, and street improvement projects that motivated President Biden to fight so hard to get that infrastructure package done in the first place. We saw the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, just the other day with Representative Vern Buchanan. Both of them were touring an airport terminal project in Sarasota that our department approved for funding through President Biden's infrastructure law. They apparently saw no irony in celebrating that project, even though they had voted no on the package that funded it. So, look, we know that these are good projects because even the people who tried to block them are here to celebrate them. It's an example of what it means to show that we're about the bread and butter of governing. We're not about the chaos. We're not about the drama. We're not about the partisan politics. We're about getting stuff done, including fixing roads, bridges, tunnels, trains, airports, ports, and all the other things we've been working on so hard as an administration, especially since President Biden signed that historic bill 2 years ago.
Secretary, those are all substantive policy wins that are happening here on Earth 1. Over on Earth 2, the GOP's primary effort right now is investigating Hunter Biden, making a connection between Hunter and the president. Is that a good use of their time?
Well, I'll tell you, that's not what I am hearing about when I travel around the country to talk about what people need for infrastructure. And by the way, we're not just going to one type of community politically. We're going to places that are large and small, red, blue, and purple. I got to tell you, not one person has come up to me on the street, whether it was in South Dakota or West Virginia, or whether it was in Manhattan or Los Angeles, and said, "Oh, Secretary, I see you're here. I really want to make sure that you all are doing more about impeachment or about the president's relatives." What they say is, you know, we've got a real need here in terms of this road, in terms of this bridge, in terms of our port. And that's exactly what we're focused on. That, I think, is where most people are, most regular people going about their lives, be they Democrats, independents, or Republicans. And it's why I think we're finding that there is, again, a willingness, not a willingness, an appetite to claim credit for these projects, even among the representatives who spend more of their time here in Washington focusing on chasing their tail on an impeachment inquiry than on helping us get those roads and bridges done.
Secretary, I hear you on Americans' priorities. The administration puts the number of projects launched since the infrastructure bill's passage at 40,000. You know as well as I do the disconnect between the delivery of those wins and the perception and understanding of those wins. And I wonder how you believe you bridge that gap.
Well, part of that is why we're on the road so much. Look, we shouldn't assume or expect that people are automatically going to give credit where credit is due if we don't remind folks how these things came about. We've gotten so used to this infrastructure law being a reality that it's easy to forget that it was declared dead multiple times in the press in 2021 before President Biden got it over the finish line. By the way, with cooperation across the aisle. Another thing that people scoffed at was the idea you could do anything on a bipartisan basis. And yet he brought a number of Republicans along to work with him, to work with congressional Democrats to make this happen. We're going to get out there, and we're going to continue to get out there on the ground, pointing to the benefits in all kinds of communities. And sometimes there's multiple projects going on in the same community. Yesterday I was in Monroe, Michigan, a small community, about 20,000. It's got Michigan's only port on Lake Erie. We looked at that port where we're bringing $11 million that are going to help shore up a facility that's very important for bulk cargo and for manufacturing there. On our way there to see the project in this small community of Monroe, Michigan that we wanted to look at, we passed by another project that happened to be on our path, also in Monroe, Michigan, getting rid of a railroad crossing on West Elm Street Avenue there, which has been a pain point because backed up trains there can delay emergency vehicles from getting to where they're going, as well as just a convenience issue because the YMCA and a school are right by this railroad crossing. We're doing railroad crossing elimination like that across the country. These are real things that are making a real difference in people's real everyday lives. And it's I got to tell you, it's refreshing to get away from the politics, away from the noise. But we got to keep connecting those dots because I'm under no illusion that people will automatically give President Biden credit for what he has delivered unless we illustrate how we are putting these investments to work.
Real thing.